help me. I'm stuck. What should I do? Well, you're in luck. I've got a tarot spread for that. Actually, I've got three, so let's back up and talk about that. So, when it comes to being stuck, there are several things that this stuckness could be the actual problem. So, the tricky part is if you don't pick the right type of stuckness and the right spread, you can pull cards and still be stuck. We don't want that to happen. So let's get you diagnosed and figure out what kind of stuck you are and which of the three spreads you need. So let's do it. I'm Cassandra the card reader. This week's episode is like a tequila flight. I don't have three shot glasses, but if I did, just imagine three shot glasses, tequila flight. We got three different possible solutions, same problem. We're going to do a tasting and see which one fits. Taste the tarot. Salud. So let's start with my personal favorite, the I Can't Because spread. This spread is inspired by the Devil card in tarot. So I can't because. So if you find yourself saying I'm stuck and I can't do what I want to do or I can't do anything because, this is probably the spread for you. So in line with my no hypothetical readings rule, I'm going to use myself as an example. If you want to send me your questions, put them in the comments. Send me your questions. I'll use them as examples. But for now, I just have myself. And so my example is this podcast itself. I filmed the first half of this podcast a week ago. And have I finished it? No. I'm finally getting to it today, but up until now, I was like, oh, I can't do it. I'm stuck. Now, in my case, it was a little difficult to articulate why I was stuck, like the I can't because. So this spread will work if you're stuck in that way too. So here we go. I can't because. So the first cards here are going to be the fear or belief. And I've got the King of Cups. And then the second card is if I weren't afraid, I would. Three of Cups. And then the first step to get unstuck is the Three of Swords. Okay. So let's take a look. I can't because the fear or belief here is around the King of Cups. The King of Cups has control of his emotional state. So I think that's fair to say. I was saying I can't because I'm not, my emotional state isn't right. Because I was feeling very heavy and pressured for quite a few days last week. Like everything just felt heavy and it just felt like really pressured. And I was like, blah. So I think that's fair. So it's like, yeah. So it's like, I don't have the emotional capacity here. I don't have the emotional clarity. I can't because. So if that's the case, then if I weren't afraid, I would. The Three of Cups. So if I weren't afraid, I would call up a friend and I would just do the readings for them and I would film it. That's what I would do. But then that's going to knock me back to another I can't because. So it's like, you're in the right reading if that's happening. So yes. So it's like, I feel like that's not really a possibility. But we'll address that in a second. Okay. So if I weren't afraid, I would call a friend and do these readings and just film it. So the first step here is with the Three of Swords. I think in the case of this spread, it's another three. Notice it's a three and a three. this is kind of like about the logistics of it, and it's like getting the pieces to fit together, because sometimes the three is about like missing information, or it's kind of like missing pieces, like it doesn't, you know what I mean, you're trying to get something to like fit together. And in this case, I kind of think that's what that is about. um, or it could be saying about like working through like these beliefs which are mental. So nevertheless, like I feel like that's a good summation to start with. And as with all my readings, they're probably 90% of them are going to be 3-card readings. Because I feel like with 3 cards, you get a good baseline, and then you're absolutely welcome to add more cards and go from there. But if you get a good baseline, that's your jumping off point. So that's the jumping off point is I can't because. Oh, why? Because there's a fear or belief that I'm not emotionally up to it right now. So if I weren't afraid, I would call somebody and just film me doing the reading. So the first step is like getting through the logistics of that, which I kind of did by just going ahead and filming this without somebody. So there you go. And like I said, you might have another I can't because hop up when you're doing this. So you can just lay 3 more cards for your next I can't because. Until you get to far enough under where you're like, oh, okay, that's the crux of this whole thing. Now I feel clear. Now I have the clarity I need to move forward and not be stuck. But we're not going to do that. We are going to go on to the next reading. So this next spread is inspired by the Hanged Man. And it's about putting down the struggle. And I wrote here, sometimes the obstacle is the struggle, let it go. So it's kind of similar to the idea of suffering is optional. It's like pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. It's the same thing. It's like stuckness is inevitable, but struggling is optional. So sometimes the obstacle is the struggle. Because sometimes you're not supposed to actually do anything. So this one's a little more tricky, but you can try it and see if it helps you with your stuckness. So I'm keeping with the same example with the like, why can't I finish the podcast situation? So what does it give me to struggle or to be stuck? What does the stuckness give me? It gives me 2 of Cups. So it gives me a chance to unify things. This is 2 things coming together. So it's like, on the one hand, I want to make the podcast. On the other hand, I don't want to make the podcast. On the one hand, I really want the benefits that happen when I make and publish podcasts. On the other hand, something's telling me don't do it. So you see what I'm saying? It's like it gives me a chance to visit these seemingly opposing parts, or maybe they are not, maybe they aren't opposing parts, but whatever. It gives me a chance to visit this. So what happens if I let the struggle go? If I just let it be like, hey, I'm stuck, and it is what it is. We have the Page of Swords. And, I mentioned somewhere here that there was a heaviness, over several days. And I was like, I can't do anything because I was just feeling too heavy. Well, the Page of Swords is notorious for clearing that kind of energy. So, and there's this guy in my neighborhood. These are the things that you need to pay attention to with tarot. There's this guy in my neighborhood. He reminds me so much of the Page of Swords. I want to take a picture of him. I want to go, hey, can I take a picture of you? Because you look like the Page of Swords. But that's just an aside. But anyway, so what happens if I let it go? Yeah, the Page of Swords is like cutting through the heaviness and getting some clarity. So it's kind of like, yeah, one of the things, like if you're procrastinating and you finally get into action, then suddenly then it's everything clears and all of this drama and everything that you were creating is no longer there. So there's that. So how can I flip my perspective? Because that's a hanged man principle too. Sometimes if you just look at things in a different way, then what you're looking at changes, right? I am full of just cliches today, am I not? Oh my God. So we have the Queen of Cups. So how can I flip my perspective? So I would say this is like concentrating on the feeling that I'm trying to avoid, concentrating on what my heart is saying. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, so there's a feeling like I don't want to finish this podcast, so might be a good idea to sit with that feeling and because that's what I'm trying to avoid is that particular feeling. So it's like, maybe you want to sit with that. Maybe you want to concentrate on that. And interestingly, almost in the last reading, I didn't mention this, but we kind of had the same setup here with the, can you see this? No, you can't. With the cups and the swords. So it's like a head and heart setup. And then we have it again here, mirrored, opposite head and heart. So, like I said, how can you flip the perspective? It's like, okay, instead of letting the head take the lead and be like, well, I have to solve this problem. I have to figure out how I'm going to make myself do it. Maybe I just want to sit with this feeling and what my heart's telling me. Yeah. So, and I know this is very abstract, and I apologize because I can only use myself as an example. Like I said, right now, until somebody sends me a question, I can, and I'm not guaranteeing that example won't be abstract either, but I'm just saying, I'm doing the best I can with the example, and hopefully you get something out of this. So this is the hangman spread, putting down the struggle to get unstuck. So I've got one more. Let's get to it. Okay, so now we've got the last spread here. This is just a 3-card decision spread. So if you have options, it's like you ask the question, like, should I do A or B or C or D or E, however many options you have, and you lay a card for each option. And so what that's telling you is like, what would this look like? Or you could ask, what are the consequences or the implications of this? Like, if I went ahead and took this job, like, what would it look like? Or what are the consequences of that? Of making this decision, or what are the implications of that? So, and you've probably seen spreads like this. And so this is inspired by the 2 of Swords for making those decisions. Okay. So, and this, this is good for sometimes you just overthink things and you just keep putting all your options and they just keep spinning and spinning and spinning in your head. Sometimes if you just lay it out like this, it gives you some clarity and you can go ahead and make a decision instead of just going, well, maybe this, maybe that, no, maybe back to that thing, and bouncing around like a ping pong ball. So once again, using myself, I guess the example I'm going to use is I moved into this new house in January and I'm renting. And I love it, love it, love it. I love it here. I love the neighborhood. I love the house. Except it has like a fatal flaw, and that's the heating and cooling. There's a major problem. I moved in and there was like a super ass cold snap 5 days later. I mean, I thought I was going to die in here. I thought I was going to die. But, I'm just going off on that. But so it's just like, I just keep thinking, even now, I mean, even though my lease isn't going to be up till January, I keep thinking like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Am I going to stay here? Am I going to try to like tough it out another winter? Or, you know, and a part of me is like, fuck no, no way, no way. And then I'm like, but what am I going to do? But what am I going to do? So this is our example. So my positions are stay here. Okay. We've got the 8 of Swords. Go someplace else, obviously. There's our friend, the 2 of Swords. Or say to the property management people, I will stay here if you do the following, and give them a list, which personally, as I sit now, that's a Hail Mary. Like I really don't see them responding to that, but it's something I can pull a card on, right? You know? So yeah, so 3 is say to property management, I will stay if you do the following. And we have the Justice card. So number 1 for staying here, we have the 8 of Swords. So you know, this is stressful. This is a stressful thought, to say the least. And it's like, yeah, maybe there's something I'm not seeing about the possibility of staying here. Maybe there's something maybe there's an easy fix that I just haven't seen it. Like, I don't get it or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. But it's like, yeah, so I'd say generally it's not looking good, but it's like if there could be something I'm not seeing there, if I would allow it there, you know what I mean? There might be something going someplace else that, you know, that it's like, once again, it's just like it involves a decision. And I'm just like, I don't want to fucking go there right now. I just don't. Like, the thought of moving is just like, shit, it took so much to move here. It's like, I just can't imagine. I'm just like, because I was doing that the other day. I was looking at my silverware and I'm like, I don't even remember packing this. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't imagine packing silverware again. So anyway, you know, not much better. Now, the possibility 3 here of like going to property management and going, I will stay under these conditions if you do X, Y, Z, which I'm not 100% sure what that would be at this point. But just pretend I had a good list or something. You know, we have the Justice card, so it's like, that's actually the most, this is the like I was saying, I felt like this is a Hail Mary, like this is snowball chance in hell of this happening. But it almost seems like, you know, there is a possibility of this situation coming into balance if I did that, you know. So I don't know. That's definitely a lot of possibilities here, you know, where it's like, gosh, it's not a clear situation at all. And like, if I was reading for someone, if I was reading for someone and I was talking to them, I'd be like, this is not a clear cut. This isn't a clear cut decision at all. And like I said, with any of these spreads, you can expand it. You can add more cards. We're not doing that today. I'm just showing you the basic line, and you can go off from there. But I'm just saying this is a good overview of what we got. So it's like we have a situation that's not super cut and dried, and so how can we work with that? And then, like I said, given that this one looks like it has somewhere to go, like where will we go from here? And so then that, you know, the spread can go off from this card. But once again, we're not doing that. So I will again make the offer. Like, if you have a question you want me to look at, put it in the comments. If you want to practice tarot in real time with great people, join the Tarot Underground. I have a circle group. It's called the Tarot Underground. It's free. Link in the description. Until next week, adiosito.